Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today. Today we're doing something a little different.
We're road tripping today to do a little investigating on Texas history.
And we are headed to the Fanthorp Inn.
I'm Fisher. I'm one of the interpreters or educators here at Washington on the Brazos. And we're at Fanthorp Inn, State Historical Site today.
I have a question. The
Yes,
wardrobe
ma'am.
that you're wearing, is this authentic?
It is, and I actually hand sewed this dress. But yeah, so this is a typical kind of work dress that you would wear. I used an 1830s pattern for it. So, yes, ma'am. So we have some pictures of the gentleman who actually built the inn here, Henry Fanthorp, right here. And so he came to Texas from Virginia, and before that actually from England. And so he settled here in the early 1830s, and he and his business partner, Michael Kennard, they had a mercantile firm that they started in this area, and they used a corn crib to live in. And
wow.
yeah, they lived in a corn crib in one room of it, and then they had another room of the corn crib where they stored corn that they bought from their neighbors. And they stored it until the neighbors kind of ran out of their own corn. And then they turned right around and they sold it back to their neighbors. But y'all actually see it today as it would have been in 1850. And let me show y'all right here. You can actually get a peek into how this inn started out. So it started out as these two rooms with this dog trot or breezeway in between here. And these are actually some of the interior logs that it started out as.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So as his business got a little bit better and he was able to have a little bit more money, he actually boarded over the outside of those logs. And we have the original two rooms here. And back when it was only two rooms at the very beginning, they found that this road right here was kind of the main, it's not much of a road today, it actually dead ends right over there, but back then it was actually one of the main highways in Texas. And so they saw all the traffic going up and down the road, and being the smart businessman that he was, he said, why don't we capitalize on this and start an inn? And so he did. So this room over here is where they would have, where he and Rachel would have lived and started raising their family. This house right here, this inn, has actually been part of several different countries, and it's stayed right where it's at. Yeah, we've kind of set up the inn to show you what it would have been like in 1850.
Yes.
It's got another little door here on the side so that the people coming to post letters and such in the post office here and people coming to stay here wouldn't have to walk through the family room and bother the family all the time. But the room we just looked at, the family room,
Yes.
that would be the room for Mr. Fanthorp and Mrs. Fanthorp all through the life of the inn.
Okay, so this is
So
just part
this
of the
one-
inn up here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So this one kind of gives you an idea of what the gentleman's parlor downstairs, what it originally looked like. So kind of a hostel style, everybody get comfy with each other, because in 1850 you would be paying about $1 a night for
wow.
not your own room like today, and not even your own bed, for a spot in the
Just
bed.
for a spot.
Yes, so one of those beds right there, they would be cramming 2, 3, maybe even 4 guys all together in a bed like that, and a pallet on the floor.
Wow.
I'm digging all this furniture.
So these rooms that are considered kind of the luxury suites, how much would these cost per night?
These would run about $1.50 or so
Yeah.
a night. So if you can imagine people hot, dusty, tired from their trip, they'd come in and they'd wash up at this wash stand right here, and then they'd sit down to a meal.
Wow.
And sometimes people who didn't actually stay the night here, they would actually come maybe from town, maybe just on their trip, and they would actually pay just for the food here. So it operated sort of as a restaurant also,
Really?
in addition to a post office and an inn. Puka is kind of the fancy term for it. Around here, a lot of times it would probably just be called a shoe fly. And so what you can actually do is you can pull this string right here, this rope that's connected to the wall. And just shoo the flies away from the guests as they eat.
Oh, wow.
So somebody would have to stand there and do that.
They would. And we also have beef on the table here, which would, in 1850 in Texas, be kind of a luxury. Because we think today about Texas, oh, beef, beef, beef. But back then, it was actually pork, pork, pork.
Really?
Because it takes so much more time and work to butcher and process a big cow than it does a little pig before the meat spoils. So.
Well, that's very interesting. I never heard that before.
So one thing that this lady wrote about her experience here was that you see all these cows everywhere, but there's no milk, and there's no butter, and there's no beef. This instrument right here is a fly trap. So you could put maybe some honey or some sugar water or something sweet that would attract the flies, and the flies can fly up underneath it, but they can't fly down and get out of it, so they get stuck. Here we have our cistern. Kind of collect the rainwater. So it was a very good way of saving water and conserving water, but unfortunately it's also a really good way to breed mosquitoes. And so that's actually how the Fanthorps eventually died.
Oh, really?
After the Civil War.
Oh,
So,
wow.
This inn, it made it through the Texas Revolution, it made it through the Civil War, but then right afterwards, an epidemic of yellow fever came through. And both Henry and Rachel passed away about a month apart.
It was rumored that this was the corn crib that they lived in the beginning, but they're not really sure about that because stories said that the original corn crib had 2 rooms, whereas this is just 1 room. Still pretty cool though. Just think what it'd be like to be back here in the mid-1800s and traveling by stagecoach.
Yes, sir. Hot, dusty, bumpy.
Yeah. But that was the norm then, though.
Right.
People didn't know any better.
Comfort back then.
Yeah. Really appreciate you taking the time to show us around. It's very interesting.
Welcome. Glad to have y'all out. Thanks for coming.
That's a pretty cool visit to old Fanthorp Inn. Hard to imagine this being built back in the early 1800s, isn't it?
Next stop is Washington on the Brazos.
This is the site where in 1836 Texas signed its Declaration of Independence from Mexico, and we're going to go check out the site where that happened. In 1836, in an unfinished building owned by a gunsmith, delegates from all over Texas met here to sign the Texas Declaration of Independence. There were no windows in the building. It was freezing cold. People traveled by horse, mule, buggies, wagons, whatever they could take to get here to sign that Declaration of Independence. On July 4th of 1899, this monument was erected by the school children, of all things, of Washington County, Texas, to commemorate this spot. The necessity of self-preservation, therefore, now decrees our eternal political separation. This was the home of Anson Jones, the last president of the Republic of Texas, before Texas became part of the United States. So in 1844, then President Anson built this house for him and his family. You see, this is the living room, living area. You can imagine 1844, this was a nice place. Dining room. Michelle pointed out a minute ago that here's another one of those fly traps. Back across the dog trot, you see what was President Anson Jones' bedroom. Probably kept this place warm a lot of cold nights back in the 1800s. And possibly a kid's bedroom, I'm not sure.
Did you notice the second bed up underneath the president's bed?
No, I didn't.
Look in there.
Michelle pointed that out to me. I completely overlooked it. An old trundle bed. That's what they call those, where the bed slid up under the master bed. Thanks for pointing that out.
You're welcome.
I would have tripped right over it. Then out back, there's the kitchen.
Look at this view.
An old chicken coop out there. And the smokehouse. And they still keep chickens and ducks out here, but they've moved them. Oh, I bet there were some good smells coming out of here for a long time. Oh yeah. I'm still surprised that pork was the meat of the town, with this being cattle country. Look at the smoke. Kind of a funny note was when Texas did decide that they wanted to be a part of the United States and applied for statehood, what was then the United States turned them down. No, y'all too wild and crazy. We don't want y'all in the States. And it was a while later before they were finally accepted into the United States as the state of Texas. I was still amazed to find out that being in the middle of cattle country, these provided most of the meat. You know, I kind of like pork myself. I appreciate y'all watching our little trip down here to check out a little of the Texas heritage. And y'all don't forget, the best thing for your inside
Is outside.
We'll see you later.
We're road tripping today. We're going to do some little bit of investigation on Texas history.
And right now we're headed for the old. And this is where in 19... No, I really screwed up. There you go, okay.